Flight 229, you're clear for takeoff.
Just like a flight plan, you have to know where you're going and how you will get there when you plan for retirement. Let Ryan Fleming help you chart out a course for your retirement with his intimate knowledge of financial planning and the airline industry. It's time for the Pilot's Advisor.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Pilot's Advisor. Walter Storholt here with Ryan Fleming, financial advisor at Fleming Financial Group, serving folks worldwide, based currently out of St. Louis, as we discussed Ryan's recent move on the last episode. If you want to get in touch with Ryan, it's very easy to do so. All you have to do is go to pilotsadvisor.com. That's pilotsadvisor.com. Lots of great resources for you on the website, including the podcast and much more information as well about taxes, saving for retirement, all the things that you need to know when it comes to your financial life. Ryan, great to be with you this week. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Walter. How are you doing today?
Yeah, great. And looking forward to today's episode because we're going to dive into some listener questions today, which I think should be a lot of fun.
That's always scary. I don't know what they're going to ask.
That's right. And we get a lot of questions peppered around. And not everybody, believe it or not, who listens to the show is a pilot. And I think we've got a few on today's show that may not even come to us from the pilot world, but nonetheless should be a very entertaining and interesting program. So let's get into it, shall we? I've got our first question here from Angie. By the way, if you want to submit a question, you can certainly do that at pilotsadvisor.com. Angie says, I want to start a business for baking and designing custom wedding cakes, and I'd like to put an addition on my home to give me the space to do this. Should I take the money from IRAs or get a business loan of some sort?
And that's questions for me, right, Walter?
Yeah, this is a question for you.
Honestly, when I talk to most of my clients, I try to tell them that there's the reason why they call it an individual retirement account, and there's a reason why it's a 401k. It's for retirement, and I try to tell individuals to not, take loans against those accounts or take money out of those accounts if they can help it. I know there's some good deals, for taking loans out of your 401k from a low percentage point or APR percentage. However, you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I think it's a bad habit.
Yeah, I could see that being like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot in a way to accomplish this one goal, but sacrificing another goal.
And if you don't have money to maybe to fund this business, maybe you need to save to fund this business, or is it a good time to even start a new business if you have no capital on hand and you're going to start pulling money from your retirement account? It's kind of where I'd go with this one.
Yeah, it's a great point and a really good question. A couple of things for you to think about there, Angie. Thank you for that question. If you want to talk a little bit more, obviously, if we can get some specifics from you, Angie, we'll be able to go into a little bit more detail on that question, but that's a little bit of a starter for you. You can call or text, by the way, anytime to get in touch with Ryan at 843-475-3038, 843-475-3038. Erico has our next question. I've dabbled in trading options in my IRA over the years, but never had time to master it. I'm retiring in a year and feel that once I have more time to spend on it, I'll be able to meet all of my retirement income needs this way. Is that a reasonable assumption?
Well, Walter, you know what happens when you assume?
Yes. You fall into an unfortunate circumstance.
That's a very unfortunate circumstance. I would say that I know very, very few people that can consistently make money or produce income off of options trading. I wouldn't make the assumption that you could retire and make all your retirement income come from that. I don't think that's a good plan. I think it's very much along the lines of my retirement plan is I'm going to buy lottery tickets and win the lottery, and that will fund my retirement. Sadly, too many people keep kicking the can down the street when they are talking about focusing on their investments in their retirement, when it's probably one of the most important things they need to do early so that they can have a good retirement later. I understand life gets in the way, but that's why a good financial advisor can help you focus on getting things set up so that things can be a lot less painful later on.
The thing that strikes me about this question, Ryan, is that it just sounds really stressful, like having to make your retirement work by doing this like very risky trading. That's not how I want to spend retirement. Maybe Erico enjoys it and gets enjoyment out of it, but boy, if you have a couple of bad days or a bad streak, I mean, you're kind of like living on this knife's edge of if I do wrong and don't do well or suffer some losses, am I putting myself at risk of needing to go back to work?
Well, exactly. And we try to teach our clients and prospects to not speculate and gamble with their money. Take a academic, disciplined, long-term approach so that in retirement you can actually have a nice, peaceful retirement. And I would agree with you. I mean, options trading every day to produce income doesn't sound like retirement to me. It sounds very stressful.
Great points and another good question. Thank you, Erica. A couple of things for you to think about there for sure. Have you ever wanted to learn more about the academic approach to investing and saving and planning for retirement that Ryan talks about here on The Pilot's Advisor? Well, if so, go visit pilotsadvisor.com. pilotsadvisor.com. You can watch a quick webinar on the academic approach to investing. It'll show you how not to speculate and gamble with your money. It's all based on Nobel Prize winning research. Only takes about 10 minutes to get through the video and watch it. Going to be worth your time, I promise you. Go check it out right now, pilotsadvisor.com. It's a webinar that covers that academic approach to investing. pilotsadvisor.com. All right, back to the show. All right, Christopher is up next. Christopher says, I'll be turning 70 at the beginning of next year, and I'm annoyed that I'll have to start taking money out of my IRA because I won't even need it. I'm sure you have some tips for circumventing this rule. What are they?
Well, that's a great question, Christopher. And actually, there's many people out there that are annoyed that the government wants their piece of their money at that point in time. But the rule has actually changed where you don't have to do it at 70. It's now 72. And so you have a couple more years to defer taxes on those accounts, but then the government is going to want to get paid. And just like paying taxes, I'm annoyed with it too. However, basically what the government's done, it's allowed you to defer taxes on those accounts all those years. And what a required minimum distribution is, basically the government saying, hey, it's time for you to pay up on those taxes. So there's not really any way of circumventing it. There's different things we can do once you pull that income if you don't need it and put it in other places that could help you out. But yes, I think that I understand and I can sympathize with you being annoyed.
Yeah, that's a great point. And but interesting to know that the rules have tweaked just a little bit there. And so, Christopher, make sure you understand the full required minimum distribution rules. It's one of those things in the financial world you don't want to mess up because Uncle Sam wants that money, but at the same time, you don't want to start using that money too early if you don't have to. So make sure you're working that out with somebody like Ryan Fleming, talking out your financial situation and your retirement plan with him. 843-475-3038 is the number to call or text to reach Ryan, 843-475-3038. We're peppering Ryan with some listener questions on today's show. Happy to take your questions for a future edition of The Pilot's Advisor, where we'll answer more mailbag questions. For that, you can go to pilotsadvisor.com and submit questions on the website. Our next question comes to us from Colleen. Colleen says, I'm probably not what you'd consider a very savvy investor. I've always saved a lot for the past 35 years, and I have a pretty big 401k balance, but I really have no idea I should be investing, or I have no idea how I should be investing my current dollars or my future savings. Have I significantly handicapped myself by not having more knowledge about how the investing world works?
This is a great question, and it's kind of funny because I feel like I just had a prospect that I spent a lot of time with going over her investment accounts in her 401k. And she was a great saver, much like Colleen's talking about, but as she considered herself to not be a savvy investor. And I think, saving is amazing, and it's amazing if you've saved that well over the last 35 years. But if you really go in and dig into the accounts and see how efficiently you've saved, that's a whole nother story. And, being able to save is one side of the puzzle. The other side is developing a portfolio that's going to be efficient and works for you, and it's going to be able to grow most effectively to help fund your retirement. So I don't know if you've significantly handicapped yourself without knowing a little bit more information, but sadly as investors, we don't know what we don't know. And I think that I see that a lot where people make some assumptions about how they're doing or I'm saving, so that's enough, and that's not really the case. So I recommend, Colleen, that you reach out to a trusted advisor or reach out to me, and we can kind of analyze what you have going on. And it's great that you have saved, but there's a lot of planning that goes forward on the distribution phase of retirement as well.
Sometimes that's the best way to do the retirement plan, Ryan, isn't it? Just sort of set it and forget it and just keep pummeling money away and don't tinker with it all that much. And people kind of become accidental millionaires that way, right?
Well, I love the millionaire next door, and being a disciplined saver is definitely a big piece of the puzzle. And, it's like anything else, though. You want your money working for you as well. Unfortunately, I've seen in the military where somebody set up their TSP and they were great at saving, but it was in a G fund the whole time, which is basically like a money market. And so they were great at saving, but that money never grew or never did anything for them, which, is sad and almost criminal. But that's why we really have to understand where your money's going and how it's invested.
Could be 2 or 3 times more than that with just a couple clicks of a button to make sure that your money's in the right place. So if you really don't, it's great that you're still saving that money, Colleen, but you do want to make sure that your money's in the right place, and to help get a full analysis of where that money is, how it can best be positioned for your final working years, it sounds like here. Make sure you reach out to Ryan and have that conversation. You can set up a time to visit remotely or maybe in person if your travels happen to cross paths at some point. 843-475-3038 is the number to call or text. 843-475-3038. Ryan might be based out of St. Louis, but he can pretty much meet in any airport all across the world as he's on his travels. Well, hey there. We hope you're enjoying listening to the Pilot's Advisor today. Just wanted to take a quick moment from the show to remind you that if you have any questions ever about what Ryan talks about on the program, need any assistance with your financial planning, need some guidance to get to and through retirement, or whatever financial questions might be on your mind, don't ever hesitate to reach out. The simple way to get in touch with Ryan is to pick up the phone and call or text 843-475-3038. Again, that's 843-475-3038. You can also find Ryan online at FlemingFG.com. That's FlemingFG.com. And as always, we put contact information to get in touch with Ryan in the description or the show notes section of the program. So just check it out on whatever app you're using, and it's easy to get in touch with Ryan. All right, now back to the show. Brad has our next question here, Ryan. Brad says they recently announced at work that our 401ks are now going to have a Roth option. Should I put my future savings in that instead of the traditional 401k?
Well, of course, Brad, that is great news that your 401k is now going to have a Roth option. The correct answer is it depends. It depends on your situation. But I would say, for the most part, putting money in a 401k Roth option is probably the right call. And there's certain books on this that we could go through to talk about it. But if I was to take an answer, of course, I need to know more about the situation. But for the most part, if you have a Roth option in your 401k, I would say it's a very valuable thing, and I would start making Roth contributions going forward. But once again, it really depends on your individual situation.
Another good question. All of them have been great on today's show. Yeah, it depends, often the common answer to these things. But Brad, it's good to have the options there, and so nice that the 401k is having that Roth inclusion. Some people don't have that opportunity.
Absolutely, and I just wanted to comment on that one more thing, Walter. And the Roth option is something that's coming around to a lot of 401ks now when they change the 401k plan. And it's a good thing for us. It's a good thing for investors. It's not necessarily a good thing for the government, but they're allowing this to happen because they need income now because of the tax burden that we have. And so I like to think of it that way. Why are they offering this? Well, they're offering it because they need money. They need cash now. And the Roth option is actually spitting out tax. That's after-tax money that's going to be going into your 401k, but you're kind of paying the government to go away. And that money can grow tax-free forever after that. So the 401k Roth option is a beautiful thing.
Another great question. Thank you, Brad. And last but not least, I've got one here from Jamie. And Jamie says, I looked forward to retirement for many years, but now that I'm actually retired, I can't shake the feeling I'm eventually going to run out of money. Is there a solution for fighting this feeling other than simply spending less or having to go back to work?
Well, we like to help our clients find financial peace of mind, but you can never really get there unless you know exactly what your situation is. And this is where we look at building out a retirement income strategy, where we actually look at how much you have saved, how much income you need, add in Social Security or any other income or pensions that you may have. And we can actually run simulations, Monte Carlo simulations, to kind of figure out what your probability of success is. But just diving into retirement and pulling money out to buy food or go grocery shopping and really, I guess we'd call flying blind, is not the way to go, Jamie. And I'd be stressed out about that too if I didn't have a really good plan for my retirement income and how long my money could last. So you might want to reach out to an advisor or give us a call, and we might be able to help you out with that.
And again, that number to call or text is 843-475-3038, 843-475-3038. We'll link to Ryan's website in the description of today's show, as well as put the number to contact him there, so it's easy for you to find and get in touch with that contact information. And yeah, if we covered a lot of ground on today's show with all these questions, Ryan, what does the planning process look like? Can you give us a quick overview of what happens when somebody calls and says, yeah, I want to work on some of these things in my financial plan? What do you really then take people through?
Well, it really kind of depends on where they are in their life. If they're still in the accumulation phase, we're going to analyze a lot more about their current investment portfolio and how we can tweak it to make it grow more for the distribution phase of retirement. If they're nearing retirement, would say within 5 years, that's when it's really time to start building out that income plan, and we'll really look at what your income needs are, what your Social Security might look like, and how much investments you've saved over the years, and what we can do with that to spit out income. So it becomes a pretty complicated thing, but we can simplify it and make it more understandable and put something to paper and really give you a better idea of what it's going to look like.
If you want to get in touch again, all the contact info is in the description of today's show, and we certainly hope that is helpful for you. Ryan, thanks for answering these questions, and we'll look forward to chatting with you on the next episode.
Appreciate your time, Walter, as always.
And we will talk to everybody next time right back here on The Pilot's Advisor. You've been listening to The Pilot's Advisor, featuring Ryan Fleming, a financial advisor at Fleming Financial Group, serving clients worldwide, but based out of Charleston, South Carolina. If you have any questions for Ryan on what we've talked about on today's show, maybe a future topic idea, or want to talk more about getting a complimentary review of your financial plan, here's the best ways to get in touch. You can go online to the website FlemingFG.com. That's FlemingFG.com. You can also email Ryan. It's simply Ryan@FlemingFG.com. Or you can call or text to get in touch. 843-475-3038 is the number. That's 843-475-3038. Thanks for listening to The Pilot's Advisor, and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting apps. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and many more locations. So whatever app you like to use, search for The Pilot's Advisor podcast today and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.